Hello, welcome back. And today I want to talk about an article that my husband read and he subsequently asked me to read because he thought it was a good idea for me to discuss. The name of the article is called Skipping Meals and Working Overtime: The Sacrifices Americans Make to Afford Housing. And this was published actually last year by Lily Katz. And I don't think things have changed very much from April of last year. I think a lot of Americans are finding it very difficult to own a home at this time. And that's because a number of things. The interest rates are higher than they had been in the past 3, 4, 5 years. And sometimes people are underemployed. And the other issue is that the price of goods and services have tremendously increased, which impacts a lot of people's expendable income and their ability to save for a home. But I think it's worth trying. And I want to encourage you to buy a home. I believe that you can. With the right plan, you can definitely prepare for your future. So let's first talk about the pros of home ownership. The pros of home ownership is number one, you have the pride of owning something that you can personalize to your own specific taste. When you're a renter, your landlord gets to tell you what color the walls can be, what you can place on the walls, how many holes you can put in the walls, all of those things. There's a lot of restrictions with renting. But another benefit to home ownership is the fact that you get a tax write off. So the interest that you pay on your home mortgage is deductible, is tax deductible. And with regards to renting, there's rents are usually not tax deductible. So you're paying your landlord's bills, but you're not getting anything out of it. Also, with home ownership comes equity. If you buy your home at the right time, the right price, right location, location means everything. And I'm sure you've heard people say location, location, location. It is very important. So if you buy your home in the right location, it will increase in value. So as you're paying your mortgage down, making your regular payments, not only are you paying down your loan amount, but your home is also increasing in value. So that increases your net worth. So in other words, your mortgage is here, your equity is here in the beginning. But as you pay your mortgage down, your equity increases because you're constantly paying your mortgage down. But also, if you're in a great neighborhood, your home will be worth more in time. So then the equity increases. And so over time, the gap just widens and widens and widens and widens. And that's how you end up, in some cases, having hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity in your home that you didn't have to work for. All you had to do was buy a home, pay the mortgage. You have to maintain the home. Yes, so that's one of the, I guess, cons of owning a home is that you do have maintenance. In the winter time, if you live in a wintry state where there's snow, you have to plow the snow. And the summertime and the spring, you have the lawn maintenance. But it comes with home ownership, right? And in my opinion, it's a small price to pay for the amount of equity that you can gain in that home. So the other thing that some people might consider as a con when it comes to owning a home is the repairs. If there is a leaky toilet, you have to get it fixed. You have to pay for it yourself. If the home needs a new roof, you have to pay for a new roof. But again, these are things that you're paying for anyway if you're a renter, not directly, but indirectly by the rents that you pay. And as a renter, the rental rates are going up traditionally somewhere around 4% every year. So one thing for sure, your rental rates are always going to go up. They're almost never going to come down. Now, some people would say, yeah, your mortgage payment will go up. Well, the only reason your mortgage payment would go up is if you are in a variable rate mortgage, which I do not recommend. Get a stable mortgage interest rate that does not fluctuate. The other reason why your mortgage um, amount may go up each month is because if your taxes are rolled into your monthly payments, as the value of your home increase, so does the taxable value increase, which, it does bring your home taxes up a little bit, but they're capped, especially when it is your primary residence. It's capped, and the taxes typically will not go up a tremendous amount. So some of you might say, okay, so you sold me. I should buy a home. But right now, I'm in a position where I really can't afford to buy a home. So in this article, let's go back to the article. These are what some people are doing in order to put themselves in a position where they one day can afford a home. So maybe you can't afford a home today, but you can start making a plan so that in the next couple of years, you can purchase the home. So temporarily, you could move in with your parents and save money. Because then you're going to minimize your expenses, and hopefully you'll be in a position where if you have some debts, you can pay down those debts and get yourself in a better financial position, improving your credit score by reducing your debts and increasing the amount of money that you have saved for a down payment. That looks very good to a creditor. When you have a really strong down payment, you're less of a risk. The other thing that people are doing is, if you can't move in with your parents, maybe there's another family member that you can move in with that will allow you, for maybe a small amount of money, live with them so that you can get back on your feet. Another thing is you can move in with a roommate if you have a friend who owns a home, or if you do rent, maybe if you rent a house, maybe you rent it with a few friends that you can tolerate living with. That's another option. And for some people, in order to be able to afford a home, unfortunately, they made the very difficult decision to give up their pets. Now, I know we have a lot of pet lovers out there. I have had a pet in the past, and I understand how that can be an emotional, you can have an emotional attachment. So some people might not want to give up their pets. But if you don't have any pets, maybe you might want to consider postponing purchasing a pet until after you've purchased your home and you have the money available to afford that pet, because it can get pretty expensive. It adds up over time. The other thing that people do in order to be able to afford a home is they reduce the college savings that they're putting into their kids' college funds. So if you're putting a couple $100s a month in your kids' college funds and you can't afford to buy a house, you might want to reduce that temporarily until you can get to the point where you can get into a more stable position where you can purchase a home, and then you can resume saving for your kids' college. Another thing that people do is they decide against or they delay having children. Now, I'm not telling people one way or the other whether you should or should not have children, but I am suggesting that if you don't have children, or if you currently do have children and you're in a position where you're struggling, perhaps maybe for those who don't have children, maybe you'll delay parenthood until you're in a much better financial position so that you don't have to make a lot of hard choices with regards to your finances and being able to care for your children and provide for them in the way that you want. And for those of you who already have children, you love those little bundles of joy, but you probably want to delay having any more children again until you're in a position where you can give your children all the things that you desire to give to them, perhaps some of the things that you desired as a child, but your parents couldn't afford to give you. So, in all, I'm saying home ownership, don't give up on it. So, you can go one of the various routes, or multiple or several of those routes that some of the other people have decided to take in order to afford a home. Another thing that people do is work a lot of overtime, but let's back up. If you're going to work overtime, I suggest working overtime to pay off debts in order to bring your credit score up, and also work overtime to save for a home. Never ever do you want to qualify for a mortgage on overtime income, because overtime income is not always guaranteed, and it puts you in a position where you don't have a choice. You're in a position where if you consider your overtime income in order to be able to afford the home, then you're living above your means. Do not put yourself in a position where you depend on overtime income in order to be able to afford that house. Now, here in Michigan, our governor has signed a bill, October 2025, where there is going to be no more income tax in Michigan, state income tax, for overtime. So that means a 4.25% savings on overtime. Now, you still have to pay federal taxes, but in Michigan, you don't have to pay the state tax on overtime income, as well as tips and Social Security income. So that's a win-win right there. So if you're going to work overtime to help with a down payment on a home, I certainly recommend it. So again, all of you out there, you may not be in a position today where you can buy a home, but anything that's worth having is worth planning for. So plan for that home. Dream about the home that you want, but buy a home within your means and put a pretty good down payment down. If you can put 10 or 20% down, that'll be awesome. That's what I recommend. So thank you for watching Financial Fix with Sharnella, and like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and I will see you on the next episode.